The nuclear pressure is on Europe and Germany. Around a fortnight ago, the US and Russia cancelled the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And though this treaty was between Russia and the US, it was all about Europe. These intermediate ranged weapons are nuclear missiles that can reach Europe from Russia and vice versa, but they're too short range to hit the United States. And they're a particularly scary type of nuclear weapon. They're mobile, they're short range, they reach their target very fast. Russia could potentially use them to launch a surprise attack on Europe or NATO, and if the attack is detected, Europe may have only seconds or minutes to decide what they're going to do about it, whether it's a false alarm, how they're going to respond. And this is part of the reason why you had the INF Treaty, why both sides agreed to completely destroy this type of missile. They put the whole world on edge, with NATO and Russia both keeping their fingers very close to the nuclear trigger finger, ready to react and launch nukes at a moment's notice. But with the INF Treaty out, these weapons are back. And Russia, even before, way before this treaty was suspended, had already developed and deployed new up-to-date versions of these weapons. So European cities are in the nuclear crosshairs. Last week, Spiegel Online wrote, "What may at first glance appear to be a regression into the chilliest days of the Cold War is in fact much more dangerous." The Times, they had a column by Edward Lucas that said, "If you think Europe is under strain now, wait until it faces a new nuclear arms race." So the pressure's on. As it is even before this, Germany's been talking about its nuclear options, especially over the last 2 years. There's been a dramatic increase in the nuclear debate within Europe and within Germany about does Germany need its own nuclear weapons? Now with the demise of the INF Treaty, well, that's focusing even more attention on Europe's nukes and on a European conventional military. In the 1970s and the 1980s, last time this INF type of weapons were a big deal, Europe relied on the US to defend against these more scary types of nukes. Now, Europe does not want to rely on the US. They want to rely on themselves, and that really means Germany. Handelsblatt published an article last week called "New Arms Race as Nuclear Treaties Dissolve. Germany Wakes Up to New Responsibilities." Germany's former Vice Chancellor and Foreign Minister, Sigmar Gabriel, he wrote an article titled "Europe and the New Nuclear Arms Race." He wrote that Europe is now entering a potentially dangerous period and must play a much more active role in the nuclear arms debate. There's also experts talking about Germany taking over America's role in stationing troops in Poland and Eastern Europe. Roderick Kesselvetter, a defense expert with Germany's ruling Christian Democratic Union Party, he said if Russia doesn't dismantle its systems, we must ensure Europe's security and shouldn't exclude any options, even nuclear ones. Another CDU expert, Elmar Brok, who's a member of the European Parliament, he said that if Putin continues to reject all forms of cooperation, one must, if need be, consider nuclear retrofitting in Europe. The German news outlet T-Online, they wrote that Germany is stumbling into a debate about nuclear armament reminiscent of dark times. So fear of these Russian missiles and the breakdown of this treaty is pushing Europe to militarize. And this is exactly what Trumpet Editor-in-Chief Gerald Flurry has talked about for years. You go all the way back to the January 2004 Trumpet magazine. He described how the rise of the strongman Vladimir Putin in Russia strikes intense fear in Europe. In that article, he was talking about Putin cementing his power in the 2003 election, and he wrote that him doing that is triggering a fear that will hasten the uniting of the European Union. 10 years later, he described how Putin shocked Europe with his invasion of Ukraine. Europe's dreadful fear of Vladimir Putin, its next-door neighbor, is going to help shape and form the Holy Roman Empire rather suddenly, he wrote. That was in the May 2014 Trumpet issue. The fear you see in Europe because of events in Crimea is going to cause 10 leaders in Europe to unite in a sudden and dramatic way, and in precise accordance with the Bible's description of that European empire, he wrote. So with the demise of the INF, that Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, that fear is ratcheted up a notch. It is hastening the fulfillment of the prophecies that the Bible foretold thousands of years ago. You can read much more about these prophecies and about how Russia is helping to bring all of this about in Mr. Flurry's article, The Crimea Crisis is Reshaping Europe. You can read that as well as all of our old Trumpet articles and all of our free books and booklets at our website, thetrumpet.com. While you're there, you get a free subscription to the Trumpet magazine that we send out 10 times a year, that we're more than happy to send you free postage, everything like that, anywhere in the world. And you can, or just about anywhere, and you can get that at our website, thetrumpet.com.